That's awesome. Okay, well, tonight I'm going to take you a journey through how I got to be so completely obsessed and loving CW, and how at home I don't even have a mic hooked up to my KX3, which I have with me. I just recently purchased a headset with a mic. I made my first voice contact in probably about 8 years. Everything else has been strictly CW, and I have one PSK contact. It breaks down into something that I know a lot of people, when you talk to them and you say, oh yeah, I love doing CW, they're like, You know, there's a lot of hesitation towards CW, even though I'm very overjoyed when I hear guys on the air that are technicians that have taken the time to learn it. I, however, had to learn CW to get my general. And during that process, I basically spent probably a good portion of 6 months of a complete year studying CW, struggling with CW, wishing I could just turn it on and it automatically copy CW, finding the right tools, finding the right techniques, putting in the time, and then getting the gratification of passing my 5 word a minute. From there, I made a very, very important decision, and that was I was going to do nothing but CW for the next year. And that's where I fell in love with CW and haven't turned around since. And it's my primary and probably my forever mode that I'll be doing. So my inspiration and journey will be our first point. I'll go into learning CW. We'll look at some keys, paddles, and bugs. I'll go over some important software. I'll discuss nets and contests, and then some popular CW clubs. Okay, my inspiration. Watching 2 Vietnam vets that were in the club, the Ozark Club in Slidell, Louisiana, run 60 plus words a minute on field day while having conversations with each other. I could not believe it. It blew me away. I was probably, 22 years old at the time. I was just like, man, I want to do that. That is the coolest thing in the world. I want to do that so bad. I want to be able to just run with these guys and not even have to think about it, have it be totally subconscious. So fueled with that passion and watching other YouTube videos and hearing guys on HF going, you have the guys who are using straight keys, but their fist is so methodical. It's like music. You're actually hearing music when they're sending letters to some Russians and Italians just flying away at 70 plus words a minute, to people using software and copying 100 plus words a minute. It's just magical. Just turning it on with like a 300 hertz filter, sounds like you're kind of underwater, and you're just in this magical land of dots and dashes. So, well, I had the inspiration, but I also wanted to work DX and get on HF, and being that I was a technician, I really couldn't do much of that. So I studied to pass my written general, and I tried to just use the W1AW practice and some CDs to learn CW, and took my CW 5 word a minute and didn't pass it. And then I found some audio CDs called Code Quick, which I'll go into later. And within about 3 months of that full 6 months, I was able to go from struggling to copy about 10 words to copying the full alphabet plus numbers at 5 plus words a minute. So well that when I took my CW exam the second time, I passed it twice over, full copy. Because you could either answer questions, or they counted how many characters you could copy like at a full copy across, and I was able to do it 2 full passing amounts of copy. And then after I passed, I was like, well, what do I do now? How do I get faster? I'm scared. When I got on HF, is somebody gonna, like, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to be going slow. Who's going to want to slow down for me? Where am I going to find help? What do I do? How do I afford an HF rig? That's another one. So, when it comes to learning CW, you're going to hear lots of discussions, and I'm only going to go into this part of it. I'm not going to go into the details of words per minute versus CPM and how sending Paris and counting the dots and spaces and this, that, and the other. You can calculate all these different things. You basically look at, the model is you have two major forms. You have the Farnsworth method, and you have what I always pronounce it as the Koch method, which I guess is the Koch method, depending on how you pronounce it. And the Koch method is actually the more popular method, and actually the method that I use to learn CW and actually worked the best for me. I actually started with the Farnsworth method, but it turned out to be very difficult. Even though you had plenty of spacing between the letters and the words, it was almost like too much spacing, even though the letters were coming at a high rate. So it didn't click. I tried and tried and tried, it just didn't click. But using the Koch method paired with the CodeQuick program, I was able to quickly build my bag of letters I understood and then get instant recognition, not by a tone only, but by a sound-alike. And I still hear the sound-alikes to this day. Even at like 35, 40 words a minute, I can still pick them out. So those are the two ways you can go about learning CW, but I highly recommend, if you want to learn CW, get a support group, get a mentor, make it fun. It has to be fun, and keep up with your practice. It's going to be a hurdle probably for the first 3 to 4 months, but if you just keep at it, it'll become easier and easier and more just like me talking to you right now. And when your brain gets rewired to be able to do that, you're just going to be hearing code and like the word dog will pop up, or Tallahassee, or Mississippi, or test, or QTH, or 599. You won't even have to think about it. It'll just come to you. And that's where the magic increases by 4 times from the initial magic of, wow, I was able to copy it like 12 words a minute, everything the guy sent me, even with the fading on HF. So these are some tools that can be used to practice code and also learn code. I recommend CodeQuick because it worked for me. It might not work for you. CodeQuick is a series of audio CDs and software, and he uses multiple different techniques to help you learn a letter. Like the letter C, he ties a sound alike, catch it, catch it. He also, when you plays the letter C, you say catch it, the letter C, and you draw C on the table. So you're doing like multiple sensory reinforcement to learn the letters. So when somebody sends the word dog, I hear dog did it, ho ho ho, got it, basically, or dot did it, dot it. Also, Learn CW Online, which is a website you can log into, has everything from you learning basic letters at a low word per minute to you practicing code groups, words. It can do CW to text, even some of the HST, the high-speed CW practice on that as well. One app for your phone, I know for the iPhones I use this a lot, is Morse Mania. The best thing I like about this is he has a guess characters portion. So you can set it to have a 1-second spacing, and he'll just play all the characters one at a time at whatever speed you want. And then he has another part of that app where he'll send full words. So you can practicing copying full words, because when you get to copying words, your brain will be able to, at a certain point, take the letters, put them together, and make the word, or you hear the whole word as a sound, like the word test, which is da 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 da. I just hear da 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 and know it's test. I don't go T-E-S-T anymore. I just know that rhythm, da 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 da, is test. So it's little tricks like that, and just keep on practicing and getting on the air, not being afraid, making QSOs, making like meaningful QSOs, not just a quick exchange, 599, thank you, and you're off running again. Like, really try to get something going. You're exchanging like your antenna and your rig and the weather and what your wife likes to do and what he likes to do other than ham radio. Like, try to get the QSO to go into a conversation. At first, and even now for me, it's taxing, especially if I'm trying to do like a full head copy. It takes a lot of like concentration, but then the more you do it, the less concentration, because it becomes a subconscious process for you to copy. You can also go, I'll give a demo of this, of ICW. They have a mumble server, which is basically a VoIP server. They have multiple different rooms in there where you can either listen to books that are playing in CW at various speeds, or they have nets where you're basically broadcasting your CW through your microphone or your mic input into the chat room, and everybody's talking to each other. Okay, so you've learned the letters, you've done some basic QSOs, but in the QSOs you're copying stuff and it doesn't make sense. And you're scratching your head and you're like, ABT, what's ABT? HW, what's HW? Okay, I know RST, that's the signal report. And then OP, what's that mean? And wait a minute, what's WX? And you hear all these other things that don't make sense. Well, the next step after you learn your initial CW and you get comfortable is learning all the abbreviations and shorthands that we use in CW, which in the slides you can go to this website, and there's plenty of other references, and that's another part of it. We use a lot of shorthands, and it's basically shortening the time it takes to send all the letters. Like the word for, we're not sending did-it-dot-it, da-da-da, did-dot-it, because it takes a long time. You go did-it-dot-it, did-dot-it, but it has a rhythm to it now. So did-it-dot-it, did-dot-it, versus did-it-dot-it, da-da-da, did-dot-it. It's a little bit faster. And like the word and, you would hear it as not da-da, da-dit, da-did-it. You'd hear it as dit-did-it. It gets really fast. Dit-did-it. And that's the trick. Some words we shorten down so you don't have to send the whole word, like about, which is ABT. It's da-da, ba-da-dit, da. Instead of da-da, ba-da-dit, da, da-da, da. You're spelling out the whole word. You're shortening it down so you don't have to send as much. The CW traffic nets use even more abbreviations and a lot of Q codes when handling traffic as well. Okay, so you've learned the letters. You can copy about 12 words a minute. You've learned some of these abbreviations. You have a general gist of what's going to come in a QSO. After you call CQ and he comes back to you, you know the flow of the QSO. So now, more practice, more QSOs. W1AW is great, but it's perfect code coming out of, I don't know how much the output power is. It's perfect code. It hardly gets affected by fading. There's no signature to it like you find when a human's sending it, because when everybody sends code differently, there's a signature to the way somebody sends. You can actually tell people by the way they send code. It's really cool. Also, for copying practice, try the slow nets. 5 word a minute. Very comfortable. Everybody's there to support everybody else. And they need more check-ins too. But I started doing a lot of the slow nets, and that actually helped me a considerable amount. But of course, QSOs, practice, practice, practice. I know this sounds arduous and stuff, but for me, practice is actually fun, because with some of the software I'm going to go into, you can actually kind of like compete with yourself. Okay, so I should have probably put this slide a little bit earlier, but what do we use? This is my recommendation if you're learning CW. Learn how to receive it, then start with a straight key. The straight key will help you get your timing down on how short a dit should be and how long a DA should be. I used the straight key probably for about 6 months before I got to the paddle. And when I got to the paddle, I was like, oh, this is so much fun. I don't have to pay attention. I just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But you still have to. So I recommend starting with a straight key. And for guys that like to use straight keys, I know guys that can go 20 words plus. And actually, it's like they're singing when they're sending. It's really, really, it's got a great flow to it. There's a lot of straight key events. There's the SKCC or the Straight Key Century Club. Then I recommend moving up to like a bencher paddle, which you basically, it's like this one I have, and if I'm hitting one side, it goes, it's in my DAWs, and the other side's, and if you combine them together, from going back and forth. So you can hit them back and forth and send dits on one side, dashes on the other. You can also do another mode. It's kind of, it takes some skill, but it's iambic. But if I hold both paddles down, so it's da 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 da. So if I go, so by holding them down and then letting go to one of my fingers, I make the letter Y. But that's a story for another presentation, how to properly operate in either iambic A or B mode. And then you have the Vibraplex bug, which between all of these keyers, you can tell who's using what when you hear it. The bug is going to have a mechanical springy sound to it. So instead of being like dit 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 dit, you'll be like it'll have like a mechanical sound to it. The paddle is going to be from a full electronic here, so it's going to be more sharp. It's dit 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 dit, like you hear here. And then the straight key, it's all going to be dependent upon the practice of the person and how well they can put the dots and dashes together in their spacing. Okay, some software that you can use to practice. Now, when I say practice, don't do what I did, which is I did a lot of receiving practice, and I got really good at copying, but then I could copy at 30 words a minute, but I could only send it like 20. It creates a kind of disconnect. Do them in sync. Practice sending. If your sending speed gets higher than your copying, work on your copying, but slow your sending down. Keep them balanced as you move up. These different programs, CW Freak and Morse Runner, RoughXP, are used for receiving. ICW is the chat room. You can do back and forth. And then I highly recommend any of the CW Ops, CW Academy courses, level 1, 2, or 3. I'm actually in level 3 right now, and it's truly amazing. He's having us do things from, and this is assuming you can already copy 20 words a minute very comfortably. So this class is focused on 25 and above words a minute, full head copy. So he's having us do things like, he'll give me the word "the," and we have to build a sentence between 4 other guys. So I have to send "the," and then send a word, and then the next guy has to send "the," my word, and then another word. And then we're getting, by the end, it comes back to me. I have to remember 7 words and be able to send them all. So that helps build your short-term memory. And also, at the speed we're going, you also start, like, he has us practice a lot of copying abbreviations, words, and then complex words like Tallahassee and Mississippi, in addition to sending this stuff, which is building our brain's ability that we already know the code. This is getting our brain just to automatically just do it subconsciously. He's like, if you're concentrating, you're doing it wrong. He's like, just relax, and it'll come to you. And it's pretty magical when it does, because you're not even paying attention. You hear it, and then just the word pops in your head. It's pretty wild. It happened to me last night, actually. I got the word centimeter, but I only had like ETR, but I heard it the second time and put together the CEN at the beginning, and then it popped into my head before he got done sending the last letter. Okay, in addition to QSOs, contests are a lot of fun. You're going to have to copy really fast, but it's not going to build your ability to rag chew very well. Because in a contest, you're usually copying a call sign, a signal report, and a serial number. So I love doing CW contesting, but I'm having to spend additional time working on my rag chewing skills because I want to kind of bring everything up to par together. I don't want to just be able to do contests at like 35 words a minute, but I can barely hold a conversation at 20 words a minute, you know, in a rag chew. I want it to be equal and move up together. Okay, there's also a lot of CW focused clubs out there, and these all have on-air events that they have mentoring, they have Elmering, they have on-air events, they have little sprints, they have all these activities that can help you practice your CW with making QSOs with other people, which is the key. Because you can practice on a computer as much as possible, but still, even with some of the software that can simulate fading and wobble and all this other stuff, it's still not the same as HF. And on HF, you're always going to miss that last letter every time because of fading. It's always going to fade out on the letter that you need the most from the call sign, and you're going to have to wait. So just more practice. I'm a member of FIS, and I'm also a member of the SKCC. I'm working towards trying to be nominated for membership for the CW Operators Club. The CW Operators Club is literally your top CW operators in the world. Most of your DXpeditions have CW Ops members on them. These guys are pretty phenomenal. And you have to be able to carry on a conversation at a minimum of 25 words a minute and contact at least 3 of their members and QSOs and get them to nominate you. You just, unlike the Straight Key Centric Club and the FIS Club where you just kind of just join and do each other, this takes some work, but you're in another level of your CW education. Okay, once again, practice. Takes practice. But through practicing, you gain the love, respect, and inspiration. And then when you hear other people that can go faster, that just motivates you even more to want to do that. Never have the mindset of, man, I can never get going that fast, or I can never copy CW. You can. It takes practice, like anything. It takes practice. I highly recommend if you're going to learn, grab some of your friends and get them to learn it as well. Practice in groups, on-air QSOs. Never go longer than 45 minutes. And if you get frustrated during your practice, stop. Come back to it tomorrow. Stay relaxed. Make it fun. Because it is. It's a lot of fun. Now, you might say, well, I can do what I need to do with a digital mode or with voice. Why do I want to learn CW? I can just do voice the whole time. CW gets through when nothing else will. And as Tom K0HHB has pointed out to me, look up all the websites for all the most popular DXpeditions. Look at which mode has the most contacts. Always CW. Always CW. You can go farther with less, and you can work more people faster with CW than any other mode. So now, let's see. I want to show you guys some of the software. This is Morse Runner. So with Morse Runner, we can simulate a contest. Right now, it would just be a basic contest. You can also change your band conditions. You can have add QRN, QRM, QSB, lids, and flutter, increase the number of operators. So you can get some pretty intense pileups. It's going to sound. See how many people come back to me. I'm hearing some of them. But you can do that with a pileup. You can have it with just one person. But basically, when you're doing this, nobody came back to me. But if we enter in a call sign, like my old call sign, and then You can do the exchange for you. And when you're doing a CW contest, you can send all that information, but most of the time I'm just hitting keys on a keyboard and copying in my head. It's really tricky. But this will most accurately simulate if you're running N1NM for a CW contest. It'll also log here the call, the signal report, but it's going to tell you if you don't copy it correctly, you're going to get a not in the log, a nil. Another program you can use is CW Freak, and basically it sends call signs, you enter them in, and it checks them for you. If you get it right, it'll increase by 1 word a minute. If you get it wrong, it'll keep decreasing by 1 to 2 to 5 words a minute. So it can help you speed up and slow down. The Koch method right here, this is great. This is, when you learn stuff, if you want to learn words and things, this is great because you can put words in a text file and have it play the text file to you. So you can create your own word list to practice or practice QSOs, a bunch of different things. And this goes all the way up to 80 words a minute or down to 15. But I can do like a text file. There's like some common words. And then I can speed it up if I need. Now the key here with this at 30 words a minute, I'm not copying HIS. I'm hearing I'm hearing that tone. And it's just, I know it's his. But listen to that. And that's the. At the higher speeds, it's too fast to copy the individual letter and put it together in your head, so you learn the rhythm of the words, the whole word. And then your brain kind of generates a context with it. Just like if I'm talking to you right now and we're having a conversation, you're not actively thinking about what you're saying sometimes. It's just coming out. Also, you can increase the noise level. You can make it weak or you can have a high noise level. You can have a weak signal. You can add, like, if it's a straight key, how it's going to sound. Let's see. But you can hear the spacing from. And if I stop it and go back, see how it's very sharp when you're using a paddle versus a straight key? The straight key has like a more of a, it's like you're rolling dough kind of with your fist. Okay, and then also you have the mumble server, which I'm going to actually try to talk to AA0H. This is a VoIP server, and what you can do is you can inject your side tone into your mic input, and everybody in the room hears it. So instead of worrying about fading and propagation, you can jump on here and have a strictly just like all CW conversation with somebody. Also, there's practice rooms with ebooks playing in Morse code. So if I jump in a practice room, that's probably about 60. And then if I'm in here, I'm see if Chuck's around. See if this will work. See if it can hear me. Or if they don't hear you, you can. Let's see. I just asked him if he could hear me. Trying to make sure his output's on there. Okay.
This is
You heard me? He said yes. So what I'm basically doing now is having a QSO over the internet where we're both sending our side tones back and forth. So this enables me to get on this, and it kind of forces me to have a normal conversation with him, which is going to help me because it's forcing me to send while I'm thinking, which is not the easiest thing in the world. Not even like reading and sending, which you're seeing on paper is tricky, but it's forcing myself to become more fluent to where I'm not even thinking, I'm just talking to him, but my hand is what's doing the talking. He said, find business to all. I missed the middle. He sent his call sign and that was actually kind of tricky because I was literally trying to figure out what I was going to say and then translating it into the paddles. But that's part of the progress of becoming fluent at CW, and that's what you're seeing with these guys that can send on the air and then have a conversation at the same time, because it becomes, it's a language, and it becomes a subconscious thing to do when you spend time learning the language. I'll go ahead and mute him. So that's my presentation. CW is a lot of fun. I might sound crazy saying that. But yeah, I really hope that those of you who've put it down for a number of years get back into it, and those of you that haven't started, try. And I'm always here for help and mentorship, like the people that have helped me, and hope to work you on the air. Thank you.
computer to computer now. So it kind of makes it, does it not, a link point that a lot of people say, why the hell should I learn code when I can do computer to computer? It's just kind of an esoteric question. I'm with you on the learning CW.
Oh yeah.
No,
Well,
it's just,
if you do a if we all just transition to doing computer to computer, we can do that. But then what happens when something goes wrong and we don't have a computer, and we can build a simple oscillator and we can get a weak signal out, but we can't modulate our voice into anything, and we can just do like a spark gap. You know, we can just
well,
get.
I'm just wondering if the quality of the sending and receiving has to do anything with doing copy without a lot of errors. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you got a good fist and I can copy, that's one situation. If I got a good fist, you can copy that. That's cool. But if I got a computer and a program, and you got a sloppy fist, is that program going to catch your mistakes, or am I?
Not necessarily. No.
Be able to copy that signal.
I'm sorry.
It might not even be able to, if the fist is bad enough, the computer won't be able to copy.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And if the signal's too weak, it won't be able to copy.
Yep.
Okay, that's my point. Okay.
Or if the guy's going too fast, he won't be able to copy it.
Exactly.
Well, I learned code 60 years ago, and I'm trying to get back into it. So it is coming back, but it's a curve. Definitely a learning curve.
Oh yeah. I actually put it down for about 4 years, and some letters just really caught me up when I was trying to get back into it. But actually, the one thing that stuck the best was like some of the words I learned, just like the signature of the word, like test and RST and stuff.
Yeah.
That just like always stuck with me. It was
Yeah.
really.
I know there's, just reaching back in. Reaching back in, it just makes sense now. You just hear the
Mm-hmm.
it's there. Yeah, it's crazy. But I was just curious question about the computer.
Yeah, I use reverse speaking to spot myself or to see how far I'm getting. But even that will make mistakes. I've seen it make several mistakes on different stations because they're going too fast for it to be able to like copy accurately.
Yeah, okay.
This Julie?
Well, I've tried in the past the Fanworth. Is that the Fanworth's the one where the dog did it? Is that the one?
That's more of just a sound-alike. You can use sound-alikes to represent the sound. The Farnsworth would be like, for example, if we were going faster, but I would be like, if I wanted to send the word the, I'd be like, but I would space it. It's like the letters coming fast, but the spacing between the letters it's wider.
Code, or is that fast code that I'm talking about with the dog? Like they might say, catch it.
That's just a sound-alike.
Okay, I've been trying those things, right? And, I get most of it, but when I try to put it together and actually words and stuff, then my brain gets all confused, and I have a learning disability. I'm dyslexic, so things get really confused, and then I get frustrated.
But as soon as you get frustrated, just stop, breathe, and then just come back to it. It might take a little bit longer, but if the sound-alikes kind of work, keep going with it. If you're not making the connection is like a three-way street with the sound-alike because it's the sound, the word, and then the letter. So you're making a pretty sophisticated relationship there.
Should I just even listen to General Morse Code even if I don't know what they're saying?
Well, it's not going to help you. You need to know the signatures of the letters.
I need to know the letters before I start listening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Somebody, Sterling.
If anybody likes to read like I do, and KB6NU told me to plug them as well, there's a lot of books out there that do a really good job of portraying the kind of the magic of code, the reason why it's more useful than voice or more penetrating than voice, and just the whole idea of trying to learn it, because it's something that we're the only people out there that use CW. He writes a book called The CW Geek's Guide to having fun with Morse Code. That's KB6NU, and you can find that on Amazon. And there's also some books like the what's it called? What is it called?
The Art and Skill of Radio
Art and
Telegraphy.
Skill of Radio Telegraphy. An Italian guy wrote that. And you can go to Amazon and type in Morse Code, and these books are available for between like $3 and $10. And it's just something to kind of put your mind into that kind of mindset. That you want to learn Morse Code, and here's some things to, I guess, not overwhelm your mind, but just kind of develop your mind. Because that really helped me get inspired to keep going with it.
Well, what did you say the other one was besides fan work?
I mean, Farnsworth method and the Koch method.
Gosh, how do you spell that one?
K-O-C-H. Am I saying it right, or is it Coke?
I think it's Cook.
Oh,
Depends where you're from.
I always read
Yeah.
oh, yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, my smartphone decoded. I mean, it's smart
Eastern Missouri or
spell.
Western
Smart
Missouri?
spell.
Well, I'm from Louisiana, so it's a little bit different.
It's K-O-C-H.
Yes. But no, like the book that Sterling talked about, that book and some other books are how I increased my speed. Because one trick is to listen to code at like 40 words a minute for about 5 minutes, and then go down to 35, and then go down to 30, and then go down to 25. And by the time you get to 20, it sounds like 5 words a minute.
Wow.
And that'll work. Another thing to train yourself to basically grab a bunch of letters, put them together, and make a word from it, is having somebody read you a book letter by letter. Because that's training your brain to do that certain process where I'm copying a letter, but I need to put it together, make it something intelligible to my head, unless I know the full signature of all the letters that make up the word. So there's a bunch of different things you can do to work on that. And that's why the biggest key is like practice, but make it fun. And the way you make it fun is work in DX, work in contest, having meaningful rag chews, and then realizing that you just worked South Africa with 3 watts, which is less power than it takes to light a light bulb in your house. Yes, Cliff?
On about my 15th attempt to learn CW, I was talking to Victor at Field Day. Victor said when you're standing in the checkout lane at whatever store you're looking at, I mean, you're there, look at the magazine rack. What let's say it's whatever magazine is converted to CW when you're in a traffic light. Remember that?
Yep.
A sign that says stop sign or yield or go or whatever the heck it is. QT, obviously though. Just try to convert it while you're downtime, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you do most of your CW with QRP?
Recently, I've been running 100 watts or a little bit less, but I'm planning on doing a lot of QRP work. I have a Rockmite, and when I get outside, yeah, I'll be running QRP, not 100 watts. Majority of my first CW contacts were all 5 watts or less. Joe.
Chris, back in the dark ages, when I learned it, the Farnsworth method was the method taught, and it was actually, in a way, it kind of screwed you up. For one thing, you practiced on 5-letter code groups, so you had to actually copy letter by letter, and you didn't get words to play with. But what the Farnsworth method, they made the characters were sent, say, at a speed of 15 words a minute, but the actual rate that they sent the characters was only like 10 words a minute. Well, where this screwed you up is when you went to take the FCC test at 13 words a minute, is FCC sent it to the correct spacing. And that messed a lot of people up.
Yeah, because then it's coming a lot faster than your
Because it just
brain.
keep rolling at you, all of a sudden. You kind of got used to the spaces between the letters and having time to think. And,
Mm-hmm.
anyhow.
It intimidates you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus you're nervous.
That's how the Navy taught us. By group, letters, 5, blah, 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 blah. You get
Yeah.
faster. You're going to do 30 words a minute in a couple months.
Yeah.
So what? You couldn't send squat.
That was a couple hours a
Yeah.
day practice too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I could copy like hell, but I couldn't send the time, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And one of the things I'm doing right now for my CW Ops class is he sends us paragraphs that we have to send, and we have to practice sending them. And sending when I'm reading gets kind of tricky, but after I send it once, I start playing with it, and then I figure out the rhythm for the word. And once I get the rhythm for the word, I can just, it just comes. And I'm just sending it. I'm not like THRIS, it's THRIS. It just like starts flowing. Yeah. Yes, Julie.
You know, when you're doing the catch, do you recommend the catch it symbols for viewing that and maybe enhancing, or would you prefer a different method in my case?
I'd say play with all of them, which is either just your hardcore like you guys are used to. It's like, here's a sound letter. Just pound it into your head.
So learning at 5 words a minute and then get it down, and then once I get the concept, then listen to it at 40 words a minute for a bit.
Yeah, when you get the alphabet and you're pretty comfortable and you're getting after about 12 words a minute, then I would start trying the other thing. But Julie, for you, I would try the Morse machine on CW Academy. Get registered with the website.
CW.
And then the Morse machine, it'll send a letter and you type it in. And it's going to keep track of what you're getting right and wrong.
Okay.
So you can set it to do all the letters and numbers or some of the letters and numbers. But you're typing it in and it'll keep doing a lot of repetition. And then when you get it right like 20 times in a row, it'll switch to the next letter. So it helps you because you're pressing the key. You're like K, K, K. And it's just really quick. So it really helps.
Is it a free account?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what words a minute is that going at?
Anyone you want. You
So
can pick
first
from
class
1
lowest
to like
or the
80.
lowest, right?
I'd start no lower than 5.
5.
But
okay.
honestly, if you're starting from scratch, I'd start at 12. But it's basic.
Okay.
Almost like a hybrid Farnsworth-Koch
Base.
method.
All right.
Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
Chris, thank you very much.